I actually want to spend the day to just kind of go over the screenplay assignment, shot sheet, and storyboard so that we're all on the same page. I'm hoping these videos are helping everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and answering any questions that you may have. Okay? So today's going to be a little longer than it normally is. I got to go over 3 things, but bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that it answers all your questions. Okay? So going into the content section, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go into the content area and click on the area that says screenplay writing, storyboarding, and shot sheet examples. Okay, let's start with screenplay writing first and storyboarding, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so the biggest thing about screenplay writing and storyboarding is the formatting. Okay, the format is what is significantly important and the part that really needs to be addressed, and that's the part that I grade on the most when it comes to looking at your assignments, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so screenplay writing, of course, a screenplay is kind of like a movie script. It is a exact guide of what is going to happen in your production, which would be your movie or your videos, and you're breaking it down. The biggest thing that's intimidating about a screenplay is the rules and the formatting. However, don't let the seamless endless parade of screenwriting elements scare you away from writing your first script, since the familiarity with the basics of the craft is half the battle, okay? So don't necessarily worry so much about the screenplay writing the first time. Just make sure that you understand the craft and what you have to exactly do, okay? So, pretty much here are the standards for doing a screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Number one, there's the 12 font Courier font style, okay? That is the basis of it all. You must have 12 font, and the font style must be Courier, okay? Also, the size must be 12. On the left hand side, you have 1.5 margins on the left, and then there's 1 inch margins around the right side, the bottom, and the top, ladies and gentlemen, okay? That is the biggest thing I want you to realize, okay? Is that when you are doing your screenplay, that the font is Courier, Courier, and the font is 12, okay? They're not doing anything bigger, and they're not doing anything different, okay? The only font that you can use is Courier, and it's 12 font only, okay? Do not make it 12.5, do not make it 13, only 12 font, ladies and gentlemen. That's something I really check, okay? So, moving on, the dialog box starts 2.5 inches from the left side of the page, okay? I'll break it down a little more, but think about it this way. All dialogue goes down the center. Anything that somebody is saying as it relates to dialogue goes down the center of the page. Anything that's not dialogue and you're explaining the action of what's going on goes from the left across the screen or across the paper, okay? So, dialogue down the center middle and action goes across the page, ladies and gentlemen. Those are very particular things that you have to make sure that you're doing correctly, okay? Moving on, character names must be in uppercase the first time they are introduced, okay? The first time you introduce the character, his or her name or the object, the dog, the animal, whatever it is, needs to be in all caps. That signifies to the reader and to myself that there is a new character, okay? Now, this gets a little specific, okay? Let's say, for example, the person's unknown, okay? You're right, unknown person, and then once you introduce the character by name, then at that point, you have to put their names in all caps again. So if they start with an unknown character and then they go to become the character's name, then you still have to put it in all caps. That is a very particular thing, okay? So please make sure that you are staying according to that. Okay, so page numbers, okay? The first page shall not be labeled, but the page number should always be on the top right-hand corner, okay? Just like if you're writing an APA style paper, doesn't appear on the first page. After that, it appears a number down, okay? So make sure that the number of pages is always on there. I tend to be lenient with the number of pages because Microsoft Word is not very helpful with that sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. So that's something I can have small pages with. But most times, the other stuff, the font style, the margins, and the character name in all caps the first time you introduce it, those are requirements, and I will not go short on those, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right, so right here is a good example of the title page, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You can see that the title page is the character, whatever the title is, by, and your name, okay? That's all the title page is, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to look at different examples online. They'll have different things at the bottom. But for me, for my course, all you need to have, ladies and gentlemen, as just an entry basic level, is the title of your project. And it can be something as simple as Tracy's telling a story assignment. by Mr. Tracy, okay? Doesn't have to be anything elaborate, doesn't have to be anything complicated. Just make sure that you are specifically given a title page, okay? So that's the first page on your screenplay, okay? Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. This is where things get a little more complicated, okay? Let me move my face over, ladies and gentlemen, this side, okay? So, first thing first, ladies and gentlemen, on your title, on your first page, you must have fade in. Every time you start a new scene, you put fade in on the left-hand side of the screen, okay? Fade in always goes on the left-hand side of the screen when it is the beginning of a new scene, okay? Now, how do you define the new scene, ladies and gentlemen? How you will define a new scene is when the character has changed locations completely, okay? If your video goes from your home to University of North Georgia, then you must fade out from your home and fade in to going to University of North Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. Very particular, okay? However, if you are going to go from your home to driving in the car to University of North Georgia, you don't have to necessarily fade out, ladies and gentlemen. I'll show you how to do that a little later on in the presentation. But for the most part, whenever there's a significant change in time, then at that point you need to fade in, and then you'll fade out when it's over with, okay? All right. On the scene header, right under fade in, every time you make a new scene, you must have the EXT and the INT. All right. EXT stands for exterior, INT stands for interior, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You need to identify whether the subject matter or the person is inside or outside, okay? If you are outside, as where shots taking place, then you'll write exterior. If you're inside, it would be interior, okay? Next will be the location. Where is this particular scene being filmed at, okay? Right here it says the writer store, but it could be University of North Georgia. It could be your house. It could be anywhere. It could be the Mall of Georgia. It could be any of those things, ladies and gentlemen. But you must identify where exactly you're being filmed, and of course, what time of day it is, okay? The time of day can be midnight. It can be early morning. And early morning for me, ladies and gentlemen, usually range between usually 12 and 3 o'clock. Morning, early morning, usually 4 to 6. Morning, usually from 6 to 12 o'clock. Afternoon is 12 to 3. Midday, usually about 3 to 5, 6. And night would be 7. And then late night, 7 to like 9. And the late night would be 10 o'clock and later, okay? So make sure that you identify what time of day this particular shot is being taken place, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So from the beginning, exterior or interior, you write EXT or INT, and that would explain whether the shot is being taken place inside or is taken outside, okay? You'll next describe where the location is. Where is this particular shot being taken out? Where is this particular scene at? And then next is the time of day. And I list all the times and days for you right here, okay? Following right here, ladies and gentlemen, is the action, okay? The action, ladies and gentlemen, is what is going on. Anything that cannot be spoken in dialogue, okay? So it says, in the heart of West Los Angeles, a boutique shop's large open sign glows like a beacon, okay? Action is anything that cannot be explained by dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Action is anything that cannot be explained by dialogue, okay? So, all of your dialogue, like it says, goes down the center, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Down the center. And all of the action, ladies and gentlemen, will go across the paper or across the screen. Action is anything that has to be explained. Dialogue is anything that can be said, okay? Also, ladies and gentlemen, in particular in screenplay writing, you have to put a transition. If you do a dissolve, you have to dissolve, ladies and gentlemen. If you do a cut, then you do a cut to, okay? Whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that it's either a dissolve, a cut, a spin, a whirl, whatever transition that you use in your videos, you have to explain this. The thing about screenplay writing, ladies and gentlemen, is that somebody else should be able to pick up your screenplay and recreate the video that you've made, okay? Once again, somebody else should be able to pick up your screenplay and recreate the video that you made, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it has to be so particular, and this is why all of these things matter, okay? So, of course, the character, ladies and gentlemen, you put the character's name always appear above his or her dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You put the character's name, and then you put his or her dialogue right under it, okay? And then the lines of dialogue for each character goes underneath it, okay? Now, you write the dialogue how the character is talking. So for this point only, slang is perfectly acceptable for this case, okay? But in most cases, I prefer you not use slang, ladies and gentlemen. But for screenplay writing, if you already wrote the character name, or the character's already writing with slang, then that's perfectly fine, ladies and gentlemen. But only keep the slang in the dialogue section. Do not put the slang in the action category, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Once again, slang does not go here in this area, but it can go from the dialogue if that's how the character talks, okay? Speaking of another point, ladies and gentlemen, when a character is first appeared inside of the video, you have to describe the character, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So see, it says Anthony, Canadian Italian story specialist, extraordinaire, okay? 30s and not getting any younger, okay? If you were doing a screenplay based upon me right now, ladies and gentlemen, it would say interior. It would be interior. The location would be Tracy's office. And then the time of day, because we can clearly see it in the background, will be day. Okay? So once again, because I'm inside of a location, it'll be interior. Okay? Where location, it'll be Tracy's office. And then the time of day, because I can clearly see it outside, ladies and gentlemen, is day. Do not put night, ladies and gentlemen. And I can clearly see in your video that is daytime. I take off points for that, ladies and gentlemen, because I feel like you're not paying attention. Okay? So when you first introduce a character into the video, you have to describe who they are. So you'll put Tracy, African American male, professor at University of North Georgia, whatsoever, and probably whatever age you want to give me, ladies and gentlemen, if I give myself. But age isn't really required as long as you describe the character, and you can say young-looking African American professor at University of North Georgia wearing glasses with a full beard. Okay. That gives the people who are probably going to redo your script, ladies and gentlemen, or redo your screenplay, an idea of what the characters look like. So with that, make sure that you describe the character when he or she or whatever appears for the first time. And a character, if you have a dog and the dog is one of the characters, then describe the dog. All right. You could say a gray pit bull with one blue eye or something along the lines of that, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So something along the lines like that, okay? Make sure that you are describing the character, okay? And you kind of go from there, okay? Here's another character, a writing enthusiast 45, reads the first page of The Aviator by John Logan, okay? John Logan isn't necessarily an important character, ladies and gentlemen, so there's no need to capitalize John Logan, but because the writing enthusiast is a new character, you put it in all caps, ladies and gentlemen, just like you put Anthony in all caps, and then you describe them. And because the writing enthusiast isn't a main significant character, you just simply write, this person simply wrote a writing enthusiast 45, okay? All right. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, if there's ever a time where you necessarily want to fade out and just going from one small area and from the same general facility, you could put something along the lines of the sales counter, okay? Let's say you were going from your bedroom to the bathroom, okay? And the bathroom was within the same area of the bedroom. There's no need to fade out and fade into the bathroom. You could just write down here in simple words, Tracy's bathroom, okay? That's how you go about doing that, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right? All characters should be doing things. If the character is talking on the phone, ladies and gentlemen, or he's talking over the phone, then you'll put in parentheses and say over the phone, okay? All right, that's what that means, ladies and gentlemen. But not only is the parentheses good, parentheses also show emotions, ladies and gentlemen, okay? If your character is sad, you'll write Anthony sad, or in a sad voice, or Anthony in a joyous voice, or Anthony in a curious voice, okay? You have to describe the characters. We are not monotone people, ladies and gentlemen. We have emotions, and people talk with different inflations and such forth, okay? So with that being said, make sure that you give your characters a emotion and bring them to life on paper, okay? Remember, this is for somebody else to be able to mimic your screenplay or mimic the video that you made just entirely based upon what they see in the video, okay? All right? Now, this is OS, stands for off screen, ladies and gentlemen, okay? What that's pretty much saying is that if the person is not shown on screen but we can hear their voice, then you can either write VO for voiceover or OS for off screen. That means that we know the person talking is Anthony, like example here. Or we know the person talking is Mr. Tracy, but we cannot see him. So we still write his dialogue out, but we just write OS to signify that he is talking off screen, but we still hear his voice. That applies to voiceovers and that applies to people who are talking, like it's showing a room or something, but we cannot see you. So then it'll be OS, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. Once again, with parentheses, ladies and gentlemen, it actually shows that the action or feelings of the characters. Extension is what can be heard if the character is not directly talking to anybody. So with the extension, ladies and gentlemen, let's say Tracy begins talking to the computer. So then you write Tracy talking to computer, and then say whatever lines Tracy said or whatever lines you're saying. Okay. More continue mean, ladies and gentlemen, where you see more is right here. More continue means that the dialogue is continuing on to the next page. Okay. So if the dialogue has continued to the next page, ladies and gentlemen, don't cut the dialogue short. Instead, write more. Okay. And continue on with the dialogue on the next page. That's what that means, okay? You can write more or you can write continue. Both are acceptable in the industry, but make sure that you have at least one of them and make sure that you're writing more to continue on with the dialogue, all right? Page number, of course, goes on the right-hand side, and many scripts begin with a transition, which may include fade in or black screen, okay? If the first thing on your video is a black screen with words, then in the action area, ladies and gentlemen, you'll write fade in, and you can write black screen. That's perfectly fine, ladies and gentlemen. You can write fade in, black screen. On some of these examples that I put online, you'll see that. And then describe what's being shown on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Once again, if it is a black screen and just text, then you have to explain. Everything needs to be explained, ladies and gentlemen, when you're doing your screenplay. No details should be left out, okay? For my course, fade in goes on the left and fade out goes on the right, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, you may encounter some people who do it a little differently, and that's perfectly fine, ladies and gentlemen. But for my course, fade in goes on the left-hand side, and fade out goes on the right-hand side, okay? Please be mindful of that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so you choose to either do INT or EXT, ladies and gentlemen, for exterior spaces, okay? Exterior, suburban home, night, okay? If I was doing that right now, if I was creating my scene header right now, ladies and gentlemen, it would be interior, Tracy's office, day, okay? There are rare cases where the scene can be either an INT and an EST, ladies and gentlemen, or even an EST and an INT, okay? That is perfectly fine. Why so, ladies and gentlemen? Because you can be inside of a car outside, okay? So if you're not really sure what you want to do for that one, I can understand if you put INT and EST. But you cannot put INT/EXT if you're sitting in your bedroom, ladies and gentlemen, or you're sitting in the classroom because you're clearly inside. So that will clearly be an INT, ladies and gentlemen. If you're outside on the University of North Georgia, that is EXT because you're outside, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right? So make sure that you take that into consideration, okay? If you want to be really detailed, ladies and gentlemen, some people go even further and they write INT, suburban home, the location in the house is the kitchen, and the time of day is night, okay? That is fine, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be really, really specific, but this version right here is perfectly acceptable for me, ladies and gentlemen, okay? But if you want to be more specific, you can put the INT, the location, the specific location, and then go on with time of day. But these three should always be in there, ladies and gentlemen, every time you start a scene off, okay? You see where it says here, hallway, ladies and gentlemen? Let's say the character proceeds to the hallway. Then you can write that, okay? Hallway. Just simple as that. Hallway. And then keep going on. What's going on, okay? Ferber comes from around the corner, distracted by his fantasy bumps into the wall, okay? That's cool, ladies and gentlemen. You're keeping it going, okay? If the character's moving around the house or moving around a specific location that's within the same area, then just talk about the hallway, okay? The hallway, the bathroom, the living room, if it's all in the same location, ladies and gentlemen, and you're not fading out, then you can keep it like that, okay? All right. When it comes to character introductions, ladies and gentlemen, you always put the character in all caps when you are first announcing the character name, ladies and gentlemen. When you are first announcing the character should be in all caps, okay? If the character name isn't identified at first, or let's say they're a taxi driver or a customer or whatsoever, ladies and gentlemen, then you write them as taxi driver first, and then when you introduce them by the name, you mention the name again, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And then you put it, but instead of saying taxi driver, you give them what their name is, and you put it in all caps, okay? Action lines where you describe the visual and audible action that take place on screen. You want to write everything in third person, ladies and gentlemen, in present tense. You don't write I or you. You write it as if somebody else was reading your screenplay, ladies and gentlemen. Your screenplay is meant for somebody else to read it. Not just me, but that any of your classmates can pick up your screenplay and in some form or fashion create the video that you have just produced based upon the screenplay, okay? Remember, only things that can be seen and heard should be included in the action, ladies and gentlemen. So any sound effects, okay? Any music playing, okay? Those are the things that should be included in the action area, okay? So, once again, interior, suburban home, kitchen, night. He stares into the abyss, sweat drips down from his defeated face, mouth agape, hands clenched. We hear, okay, a resound thud, okay, and it keep going, ladies and gentlemen, okay. So you're describing what we can hear and see, so the person can visualize what exactly is going on, okay. Dialogue, ladies and gentlemen, is always down the center of the page. When you look at the examples, you'll notice that they're down the center of the page, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Underneath the character's name, okay? Dialogue is straightforward from a formatting point of view, okay? But it's the most difficult part of formatting for your screenplay writing because it takes the most amount of time to get right. Make sure that you are putting your dialogue in the proper center of your page, ladies and gentlemen. And I go over that a little later on. But make sure that dialogue is down the center, ladies and gentlemen. The same thing goes with extensions, okay? Whether it's a voiceover or off screen, make sure that you clearly identify to the reader what that is, ladies and gentlemen. A video or off screen, okay? All right. The parentheses, ladies and gentlemen, is if the person is talking into a phone, talking into a computer, talking into a window, whatever it is, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you identify what the character is talking into, okay? If he or she is not talking to another character, then if he's not talking to somebody else, then at that point you need to put what they are talking into, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, when it comes to camera shots, ladies and gentlemen, most people do not describe camera shots in a particular production. It's not really customary for you to write a camera shot in the screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, but a POV is always a good way of identifying something in your particular screenplay. So POV is mostly one of the ones that I can sometimes accept for the class, but avoid writing camera shots in your screenplay, ladies and gentlemen. Screenplay is just for the writing and format, okay? So camera shots go for something else, and that's the shot sheet, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So remember this, ladies and gentlemen, Courier 12 font. Now, some Microsoft Words have Courier and some have Courier New. Either one's acceptable, okay? Courier or Courier New is still perfectly acceptable, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The reason why it's Courier is because Courier is easy to print out and it looks more as according to the screenplay format as standard by the industry, okay? Page margins matter, ladies and gentlemen, okay? One for the top, one for the bottom, and one on the right-hand side. And the left margin is 1.5 for the specific reason to be able to punch hole spaces, okay? It's an old standard, ladies and gentlemen, but nevertheless, old standards usually manage stuff around the industry. So with that being said, keep it 1.5 on the left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, there are many softwares out there that can help you with screenplay writing, ladies and gentlemen, but I've also learned from students that it's best for you to just use Microsoft Word, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Just use Microsoft Word. It's the easiest program and that you are in complete control. But I've also had students use Google Docs as well, and they told me that it's pretty easy as well. But I've always stuck with Microsoft Word, ladies and gentlemen. But there are many options that you can use and take advantage of. So whichever one you choose to is best for you, okay? Now, storyboarding, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Storyboarding is another assignment you have to do. So you have to do the screenplay, and you got to do the storyboard, and you also got to do a shot sheet. Shot sheet will come after this, ladies and gentlemen, okay? What a storyboard is a visual representation of what your film is going to be about. Think about it as a comic strip, okay? It's comprised of sequence drawings, sketches, or images, photographs, or standards, okay? It provides a visual guidance for look, feel, and movement. So somebody can now read your screenplay, okay, and say, okay, this is how it's supposed to be structured. And then if they need to see a visual representation of what your video is supposed to be about, ladies and gentlemen, that's when the storyboard comes into fruition, okay? So that's what the storyboard is all about. It provides guidance for look, feel, and movement, okay? It includes the staging of actors and camera placement and may include dialogue and sound direction, ladies and gentlemen. So where do you start, okay? You consider the details of every scene: the physical space, the wardrobe, the blocking, the staging. This phase is considered breaking down the script, okay? Where you highlight all the key elements that would affect the storyboard. As you go through each scene in your screenplay, analyze the screenplay, and decide what you want each scene to look like, okay? Here's my rule of practice when it comes to writing storyboards, ladies and gentlemen. Any significant change in events, you should redo a box for your storyboard, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You're probably going to hit, most students usually hit between 20 and 50 individual boxes, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So you may have 8 pages and you may have 20 to 50 boxes, okay? Each page having 6 boxes each, okay? So when it comes to that, ladies and gentlemen, a storyboard example is that you describe or you draw out what's going to happen, okay? So we see in this first one that it is a large cafeteria, okay? Then it shows one student sitting at a table by itself, okay? Somebody appears to come over and hands the student a plate, okay? These are significant changes in the video. This is your video, ladies and gentlemen, and this is pretty much you breaking down how it is supposed to exactly go, okay? All right, we see here that the teachers are talking among themselves, probably about the student, okay? One of the teachers talks to another I guess probably one of the superior teachers talks to another teacher, and she's looking at her respond, okay? Each significant detail changes in your screenplay, in your storyboard, ladies and gentlemen. As the storyboard changes scenes, this is a representation for somebody else to see exactly what's going on in your video, okay? That's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You also have a digital storyboard, ladies and gentlemen. Now, be mindful that the best and free way to get it done is to draw it yourself, ladies and gentlemen. There are hardly no, and I have not found any storyboards that are free to use completely digitally online, okay? But think about it this way, guys. It is a good investment for you in the class. Or if you want to pair one of your other classmates and buy a subscription, then you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. However way it takes for you to get the screenplay, get the storyboard done, it's your choice, ladies and gentlemen. As long as it's inputted into my assignment Dropbox, then we'll get, okay? Going back to this one, ladies and gentlemen, there's different ways to do a storyboard. For this one, you also have to describe what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I failed to mention that earlier. You have to describe what's going on in the box. Please describe what's going on in the box, ladies and gentlemen. And then you can put LS, and you put the type of shot it is. Now, we'll go over that a little later on, ladies and gentlemen. Another one later on in this video. But for the most part, ladies and gentlemen, you have to make sure that you put the type of shot it is. In the digital storyboard, you don't have to necessarily put the type of shot it is, ladies and gentlemen. You can just digitally create your concepts, okay? While putting the dialogue in the center, okay? And describing what the students or what the characters are doing, okay? So once again, the picture and describing. The picture and describing what exactly is going on, okay? I love digital storyboards, but they're not the only way you can go about doing this storyboard, okay? Because there's actually one more method, ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever. And that's where you go about writing it a different way, okay? So this one you put scene and you put shot number, okay? Scene, shot number, scene, shot number, scene, shot number, okay? But this one's a little more specific, okay? So each one gets a little more advanced as you progress, okay? You have to then describe the type of shot it is. A wide shot, what type of level is it on? Is the camera moving or still? And go from there, ladies and gentlemen, okay? That's what it is. So it's a wide shot, it's eye level, because the camera's on the eye level of the subject matter. The camera's not moving, and it's being handheld, okay? That part is not necessarily important right now, ladies and gentlemen, but it will be important later on, okay? So you're describing each scene, ladies and gentlemen. The idea of a storyboard is to describe each scene and be as descriptive as possible. Somebody should be able to pick up your screenplay and pick up your storyboard and create a great video, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, somebody should be able to pick up your screenplay and your storyboard and almost replicate the exact video that you have created, ladies and gentlemen. Now, everybody looks stuff differently, so it may not be exactly the way you made it, but the storyboard and the screenplay should give a person a very good general idea of how to go about doing your video, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So that is what a screenplay and storyboard is all about, ladies and gentlemen, okay? That is what a screenplay and storyboard is all about. This PowerPoint is available online, ladies and gentlemen, and actually very, very detailed, okay? And it gives you a lot of information, and hopefully this video gives you a lot of information as you are how to write your screenplay and storyboard, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I've also provided for you all, let me go back here, ladies and gentlemen. You have storyboard paper, ladies and gentlemen, okay? The storyboard paper is right here. You can simply download it, and you can draw out whatever it is that you'll like to draw into the box, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And then you write a description of what's going on. What's drawn and what is described is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, okay? What is written down here and what is drawn describes your screenplay and your storyboard to the T, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, I want to show you all an example that I off here to kind of give you a good idea of how it's supposed to go, okay? So, as you already know, ladies and gentlemen, this is a student example, and it's the same assignment that you have done, okay? So, let's look at it together and break it down, okay? Of course, telling the story assignment by Amelia Thompson, okay? That's the first page, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, there's no page number here. The page number starts here, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You do fade in. You put the location. You put the interior exterior, which stands for interior inside and exterior outside, the location and the time of day, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Amelia, all right, she has it in all caps because this is the first time her character is being introduced in the screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, okay? A 19-year-old girl with blonde and brown hair and green eyes addresses the camera. Perfect, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So if somebody's supposed to film this video, they'll know that they need to have a character that's about 19 years old with blonde and brown hair with green eyes addressing the camera, okay? Emily, cheerful but shy, says, "Hi, I'm Amelia, and I guess this is me," okay? This puzzle, right? That's her transition, okay? Whatever transition you use. If you use dissolve, if you cut, whatever you did, ladies and gentlemen, you will describe what the transition is, okay? Amelia looked away, then towards the camera. Okay, Amelia, to really get to know who I am, I guess we had to start with where I'm from. Puzzle, right? She describes what she shows. So she described a picture of Amelia when she was 5 appears on the screen. All right, we can't see Amelia now, so that means that it is a VO, okay, which stands for a voiceover, and she describes what she's talking about right here. Okay, keep going on. You puzzle, right? A picture of Amelia as a young child with an older brother. Old boy appears. Okay. Same thing, ladies and gentlemen. Same thing, okay? And you keep going on until you reach the end of your video. Now, some students fade out, some students fade in. She kept hers all together, ladies and gentlemen, and that's perfectly fine, okay? Spin in, all right? And you kind of go from there. You keep everything as centered as possible, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You keep everything as centered as possible, okay? As centered as possible, ladies and gentlemen. And the rule of thirds is that you want to kind of keep it between the number 2 and 5. And to technically look at that, ladies and gentlemen, we have to look at this right here, okay? So with that being said, you see how it's kind of in between the 1 and the 5? That's where you kind of want to keep your dialogue at, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want it to go any further than where it is right there, okay? Kind of keeping it that way so that it's kind of directly in the center of the page, okay? And when you're done, ladies and gentlemen, you put fade out, okay? This is one way you can go about doing a screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, but it's not the only way, okay? But the formatting, for the most part, is generally correct, ladies and gentlemen, at least for her first assignment. So that is good with me, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Let's look at another one. Okay, same thing, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right, she put 0. Sometimes it gives you a hard time, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I said I'm not going to too much press you on the whole word page, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So, fade in, of course, interior, exterior, the living room, and the day, and picture of Ashley, ladies and gentlemen. That's fine, okay? All right. Hi, I'm Ashley, and I'm a 20-year-old. All right, and you go from there, okay, ladies and gentlemen? Now, the only problem with this one, and so I want to show you because the format is correct, ladies and gentlemen, but if you didn't notice, she does not describe herself, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So make sure that you are describing yourself, ladies and gentlemen, when you first introduce the character in your screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Now, you see how she did fade out, fade in, okay? Black screen saying family, okay? She faded out again, fade in, exterior, beach condo balcony evening. All right, you have a lot of choices, ladies and gentlemen, how you can go about doing this. Okay, every student does it a little differently, but for the most part, make sure that if at any point you fade out and you fade back in, you must put the scene header, which is the exterior, the beach condo balcony, and then evening, whatever yours is. So, like I said, mine will be interior, Tracy's office, and it'll be day. Okay. I hope this is answering any questions you may have, ladies and gentlemen, and making sure that you're keeping everything in the center and down the middle, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's how you go about doing it. Anytime you're describing something, ladies and gentlemen, it goes in the action side, which goes across the screen. If you are doing it the other way, ladies and gentlemen, and it's just dialogue, then you explain it that way. Okay, so an image of Shay and her dog Petty. Okay, all right, same way, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. This is my dog Petty, okay? So at the create frame, make this introduction. I've made this section to skip the boring introduction questions like my major and do something a little different, okay? The thing with her as well, ladies and gentlemen, is that she's missing on the part where she describes who she is, ladies and gentlemen. The first example did a really good job of that as far as describing who you are, ladies and gentlemen. That's why it's the number one example, okay? But make sure that you describe exactly who it is that appears on the screen, ladies and gentlemen, and go from there. The examples that I'm showing you mainly the ones that are formatted correctly for formatting wise, okay? But make sure that you are formatting it correctly. The biggest thing with screenplay writing, ladies and gentlemen, is making sure that it is formatted correctly, okay? That's the biggest thing. With sample number 2, with her missing the description of herself, that will be points off, ladies and gentlemen, but it won't be as much points off as if it wasn't formatted correctly, okay? So you kind of keep going until you reach the end of your project, okay? And you describe everything, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this can be a very tedious task. It takes a long time and it takes a while, but that's the part and that's the art of working in film, TV, communication, journalism, and media, ladies and gentlemen, that you have to be able to do a effective screenplay, okay? So this should pretty much help you, ladies and gentlemen, as far as how to exactly do a screenplay, okay? If you have any questions about that, feel free to ask me. Now, let's go on to storyboards, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right, so each person does it a little different, ladies and gentlemen, and that's what makes it unique. There's not just one way of doing a storyboard, okay? So let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This student right here did it whereas she put a box on each page, okay? And then she draws out. She's pretty good at drawing, so that was good. And you describe what's going on. Shot number 1, which is a wide shot established shot. So this first shot we see what's going on. And she's explaining that she's throwing trees at him. They get those shots. No one helped you with this one, okay? All right? So you're describing each shot, ladies and gentlemen. Your storyboard is a visual representation of what exactly is going on in your video, ladies and gentlemen, okay? It is a visual representation of what exactly is going on in your video, okay? You draw and then you describe what's going on, okay? We'll go over this part a little later on, ladies and gentlemen, so you don't have to necessarily worry about this part, particularly right here. And I'll explain why a little later on, ladies and gentlemen. But for the most part, making sure you have that picture or the description or the drawn picture and you're describing exactly what is going on with the character, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You're describing exactly what's going on with the picture, okay? That's one example, okay? Looking at another example, let's keep going, okay? Some people do it differently, ladies and gentlemen. This was a new website I saw students use for the first time that I never saw before, ladies and gentlemen. And hers came out pretty well. So you also have a way of doing that, kind of like a watermark, ladies and gentlemen. And she's describing the wide shot, medium shot, okay? And you're describing what's going on. It's kind of like a watermark effect, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And you're describing what's going on, what the character can see. Everything that's being shown or progressing through the video is what you must see in the storyboard, okay? This is what a storyboard is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Making sure that it is a visual representation of what exactly is going on in your video, okay? It is a visual representation of what's going on, okay? He walks back to his car. When he spots a new toy, he must choose between a stick and a ball. He chooses a stick and he's very happy, okay? You're describing what's going on in the picture, ladies and gentlemen. And this, both the screenplay and the storyboard should match your video, ladies and gentlemen, okay? That's an important part, okay? they both should match what your video is exactly about. Let's keep going to the last example on here, ladies and gentlemen, okay? And this student, he did his drawing out, ladies and gentlemen, okay? All right, this student went ahead and drew it out, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You draw out what's going on, but with this one, you don't have to necessarily explain, ladies and gentlemen, because the picture does more of its words, so you establish what it is. Establish a shot, eye level, and static, ladies and gentlemen, and it says broke in the woods, okay? Then it says broke inspecting tree, broke looking up at tree, ladies and gentlemen. And then it says broke, the character, is contemplating life. All right, Brock stares at the camera, and Brock is in deep thoughts, okay? It's a drawn representation of what the video is, ladies and gentlemen. This storyboard should look like your video, okay? And you see the way he did it, ladies and gentlemen, whatsoever. And you went from there. And it's very detailed and very descriptive, okay? He has his dogs with him, and they are going about showing what's going on in the video, okay? The storyboard and the screenplay, ladies and gentlemen, are very tedious assignments, but assignments that are very particular, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I've done everybody the justice and given everybody a little more time to get both of these assignments done, ladies and gentlemen. So now the new due date for the assignment is now going to be on February the 10th, ladies and gentlemen, giving everybody a little more time to get things done, okay? It was to February 5th. I'm going to get everybody to February 10th to get the screenplay and storyboard done, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I'm going to remove right now the shot sheet assignment, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be doing a little later on after I go over the shot composition video, okay? And that'll be another video, okay? So they'll have a different due date. But for the most part, ladies and gentlemen, the screenplay and the storyboard is just a visual representation of what your project is going to be about. Somebody should be able to pick up your screenplay and your storyboard and recreate the video that you've made, ladies and gentlemen, based upon only the screenplay and the storyboard, okay? It is a guide. It is a map. Whatever you want, whatever it takes for you to realize that it should be exactly as your video. To get you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, use that information, okay? Your screenplay and your storyboard is exactly what your project is, but just a guide for somebody else to go out there and recreate the video that you've made, okay? I hope this sincerely helped everybody, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you stay for the whole video. Please let me know if you have any questions, but nevertheless, do what you got to do, ladies and gentlemen, make it work. And if you have to pay for a program, ladies and gentlemen, then at that point, there's a lot of paid programs out there, okay? It's a good investment to your future. And if you want to collaborate with your classmates, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody put in some money to get one program and one login, that's fine as well, ladies and gentlemen. You have many options that you can take as far as getting your screenplay and storyboard done, but there's no better option than using Microsoft Word to create your screenplay, and then using the storyboard paper that's right here, ladies and gentlemen, to just draw out your storyboard. You can do it digitally, okay? The choice is entirely yours, but I look forward to seeing your projects and assignments, ladies and gentlemen. You have a great day. I look forward to talking to you soon.